Run, run, the feet and tongue, rashly to dangers short and long, breaking hearts, minds, and homes, till ruin makes you its own. Hello, and welcome to the Bardic Judgment. Today I will be reviewing the Netflix original show, Eric, a 6-hour limited series that is a psychological thriller / mystery starring Benedict Cumberbatch. Personally, I was surprised to see that Benedict Cumberbatch was involved in a Netflix show. Not to insult that specific entertainment platform, but Ben's a pretty established actor at this point. He's been in the MCU, a Star Trek motion picture villain, he's played Sherlock Holmes, he's even been a dragon. A dragon! How do you top being a dragon in the Tolkien universe? Anyway, getting back on topic. The show takes place in the year 1985 in New York City. Our main character is Vincent Anderson, played by Smaug. The opening scene is a press conference which states that Vincent's son, Edgar, has been missing for 2 days. It then cuts to before Edgar's disappearance to show us what Vincent's relationship with Edgar is really like. We see that Vincent is part of a children's show called Good Day Sunshine, which isn't that dissimilar from shows like Sesame Street or The Muppet Show. Turns out, he co-created it and designed most of the puppets that they use for the filming of their show. He's no Jim Henson, and throughout this story, they do take a polite nod to indicate that Vincent actually looks up to Jim Henson. Edgar looks up to his father, and has a spark of his father's creativity. There's an idea for a new puppet kicking around inside Edgar's head, which is serendipitous, because Good Day Sunshine is experiencing a slight dip in its viewership. So a new puppet may need to be introduced in order to bridge the gap with their aging demographic and their older, newer interests. So Smaug is resistant to his good friend and business partner's push to incorporate some new changes to the show Good Day Sunshine, which lets us see that not everything is smooth sailing in Smaug's work life. Home life isn't going so great either. Smaug has a proclivity for imbibing alcohol. And trust me, as much fun as a drunk dragon is, it's not as much fun cleaning up the aftermath. Just ask Lake Town. We quickly see that Smaug's marriage with Cassie isn't doing well either. They have a competition on who can scream profanities at each other the loudest. And as any good bard would tell you, you always want to bet on the dragon. Speaking of wagers, I'd wager if you made it this far in the video, you're enjoying it. If you are, please hit like and subscribe. Just a couple of clicks is all you have to do to support your virtual bard. Also, you can click on the link below to go to my Patreon and become an inspiration. The next morning, sober Smaug attempts an indirect apology with his son, doing this by basically testing out what the voice for Edgar's new puppet Eric would actually sound like. Although he quickly redirects his attention to his wife Cassie and tries to make amends with their relationship and the damage he did the previous night. But in the process of trying to make amends with Cassie, he blatantly ignores the multiple requests she makes that he escort Edgar to school that morning for his own safety. And that's when Edgar disappears. Edgar's disappearance introduces a new character that'll be prominent in the show. Detective Mike LeDroit, part of the NYPD. He's with the Missing Persons Department, and is placed in charge of Edgar's case. The problem is the detective's attention is a bit divided. There's an establishment called the Lux that lies between Smaug's nest as well as his work, the school, the subway, basically anywhere that they want to go throughout the show. Why is the nightclub important? Because the manager has recently been released from a 6-year prison stint for drug trafficking. And for whatever reason, Detective LeDroit has a fixation on taking down the nightclub manager. To the point that Edgar's disappearance seems to more or less become an excuse for him to be able to focus his attention on the Lux. Because of its proximity, he puts on a wire and just starts walking through the place at night, listening in on conversations, hoping for some sort of clue. Clue to what? Not entirely sure, because it's kind of obvious it's not really about Edgar. LeDroit comes across 2 men who are threatening an individual that's an affiliate of the nightclub, threatening this man to end up like 8, whoever that is. The problem is those 2 are undercover detectives with the NYPD's Vice Department. The 2 detectives blow off Detective LeDroit's inquiries as to who 8 is, which only stokes his curiosity even more. Towards the end of the first episode, Edgar's shirt is found and turned into the NYPD, and it's got a massive bloodstain on it. In addition, one of those undercover Vice detectives, he's killed in a hit and run, and we don't know who the driver is. And lastly, Smaug starts the process of sketching Edgar's new puppet idea in order to try to get it on the show Good Day Sunshine. From this point, Smaug begins to spiral, and it ain't from dragon sickness. He becomes obsessed with the idea of getting Eric on the show in order for Edgar to see it. When he's not doing that, he's drinking alcohol at every opportunity. When he doesn't have alcohol available, he's ingesting some other sort of illicit substance for almost every scene throughout the rest of the show. To top it off, he hallucinates Eric following him and trying to converse with him. Now, from a storyteller perspective, the first episode is pretty good. It establishes the relationships between all the characters, and most of them are very dynamic. And it provides several mysteries, such as what happened to Edgar, who killed the undercover Vice detective, and who is 8. Where the show really shines is with the drama, showing how all the character relationships get strained as the plot progresses. However, it underperforms when it comes to the investigation aspects of the show. Technology is misrepresented very heavily in my opinion. It's supposed to take place in 1985. Now, the costume and prop departments, they nailed it in terms of the fashion, the vehicles, the TV sets. Now, where it failed is on something that actually does have an impact on the way that the plot progresses, and that's video quality in 1985. A few times you see something being broadcast on TV in the show. However, there's no snow or static, which was pretty commonplace for analog broadcasting. This is, after all, pre-digital time period that we're taking place in. In addition to that, all of the images have very high resolution and are high definition. Those weren't qualities that were common until the mid-2000s. What you would expect to see from cameras that are not made specifically for news, movies, or TV shows, they'd be pretty blurry. And yet, multiple times throughout the show, Detective Latroit gets CCTV footage that happens to have perfect angles of the events that are taking place that he wanted to know about. And the video quality is so great that he can notice things that you wouldn't have actually noticed with a 1985 camera. Because of this misrepresentation of technology in 1985, it kind of breaks the immersion effect. Now, I'm not sure how old the storytellers of this show are, but their method of writing seems to be skewed a bit by how modern police work utilizes technology. Back in 1985, they would probably be a bit more social with their methods, interviewing people in person, scoping out routes, not just sitting around an office waiting for CCTV footage to show up and magically progress the plot forward. Okay, now's the point that I want to talk about the 6-foot fuzzy blue puppet in the room that you can't see. Gotta be honest, Eric is a pointless addition to the show. Not the concept of building this puppet, getting on the show, and then having that be some sort of beacon for Edgar to see. That's rather heartwarming and wholesome. I'm referring to the moments that Eric is following Smaug around as a hallucination. What it really is a disguise for bad writing when you pay attention. All Eric does is say exactly what it is that Smaug's thinking, commenting on what it is that Smaug needs to do to get Eric back, in addition to laying out some insults that are really nothing more than just self-deprecating remarks. I don't need a hallucination in order to be self-deprecating. In addition to that, Smaug is spending most of his time trying to not react to Eric, so it's not even a proper engagement. Undoubtedly, the intention of Eric is to show how Smaug is suffering a psychological break. But in every scene, with the exception of one, the showrunners could have removed the walking puppet and simply insert a voiceover. That would have been a lot more effective. And with all those things in mind, it seems like a waste to get somebody of Smaug's quality of an actor in order for him to not react to something. If I had to boil down my review to something more easily digestible, it would be this. 'Twas a dazzling star to hook the eye, compelled by drama, though the mystery is a lie. A tangled web the writers did weave. Disappointed by the end, I was happy to leave. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this show, please click like and subscribe, and I look forward to discussing more tales with you later.